What if I told you that the most luxurious fabric in the world starts in one of the most remote, harshest landscapes on Earth? The name Loro Piana is synonymous with elegance, exclusivity, and craftsmanship, but the journey of creating a single Loro Piana garment is something most people never get to see. They say luxury is defined by price, by the brands that scream across t-shirts, by red carpets and bright lights. But those who understand true luxury know it doesn't raise its voice. True luxury whispers, and that whisper began with a poor boy from a small Italian town. Long before fashion houses were filled with celebrities and flashbulbs, before high-end boutiques lined Madison Avenue, before luxury was marketed like a product, there was a young boy born among looms, spindles, and wool dust. His name was Pietro Loro Piana, born in 1883 in the town of Trivero, nestled in the foothills of northern Italy. Pietro's life began in the humblest of surroundings. Trivero wasn't a glamorous place. It wasn't Rome, it wasn't Milan, it was a town built on wool. Here, men didn't wear suits. They made them. Women didn't buy coats. They spun the yarn that formed them. And young Pietro, even as a boy, was drawn not to the glamour of finished clothes, but to the quiet rhythm of the fabric in its earliest form. The raw texture of fleece, the weight of cloth, the scent of lanolin rising from the mills. His family worked in the wool trade, modestly, not richly, and as a boy he helped. He cleaned, he carried, he observed. But there was something different about Pietro. He didn't just see fabric, he saw potential, structure, possibility. He left his town to become an engineer. It was a bold move, one that defied the expectations of his working-class upbringing. But for Pietro, engineering wasn't escape. It was a tool. He returned to Trivero, not to leave behind the mills, but to rebuild them better. And in 1924, in the town of Quarona, he founded his own company, ing, Loro Piana and Seed, a woolen mill born not from glamour, but from grit. This wasn't Italy's golden age. The country had just emerged from war. The economy was fragile. Resources were scarce. But Pietro had a vision. He didn't want to make fabric that sold. He wanted to make fabric that lasted. He rejected shortcuts. He challenged his own workers to go slower, not faster, to make fewer pieces, but better ones. It was a dangerous philosophy. As competitors rushed to scale and embrace cheaper materials, Pietro refused. Orders were delayed. Buyers walked away. Mills went idle. But he stood firm. He believed in purity, in patience, in perfection. He would rather make one flawless meter of fabric than 1,000 flawed ones. And that belief nearly ruined him. There were moments, many, when it would have made more sense to compromise. Times when Pietro could have saved his business by just letting a slightly imperfect shipment go through. Times when his refusal to cut costs nearly sank the company. But he didn't give in. Because for Pietro, this wasn't just a business. It was a legacy. He began scouring the world for the rarest fibers known to man, not to build a brand, but to chase an idea. What if clothes could feel like clouds? What if warmth could weigh less than a feather? In the brutal steppes of Mongolia, he discovered material so soft, so rare, it could only be harvested in grams from the undercoat of baby goats. Baby cashmere. Pietro and later his family formed lasting relationships with local herders, respecting traditions, protecting nature. They didn't exploit. They partnered. And in the mountains of Peru, they encountered the vicuña. This wasn't just a rare animal. It was sacred, a species once worshipped by Incan royalty, almost extinct in the modern world. Its fiber was the finest on earth, softer than cashmere, lighter than silk, priceless. Harvesting it was illegal, but the Loro Piana family didn't bribe. They didn't push through back doors. They negotiated, legally, respectfully. They offered to help preserve the species, to build conservation programs that would allow the fiber to be harvested safely, sustainably, and ethically. And the Peruvian government agreed. It took years. It took money. It took trust. But the result? A scarf made of vicuña fiber. So soft it disappears in your hand. So warm it defies winter. The world took notice. Quietly, of course. Loro Piana never advertised. Never slapped their name across chests or handbags. While other brands chased influencers, they chased excellence. In the 1980s and 90s, their first ready-to-wear collections were introduced. At first, they didn't catch on. Buyers in New York and Paris didn't know what to make of coats that had no visible branding, of $5,000 jackets that looked, to the untrained eye, simple. But those who wore them knew. Silicon Valley executives, European royals, private art collectors, people who didn't need to prove wealth, but simply wanted the best. Loro Piana became their secret. And then in 2013, the luxury world's biggest player came knocking. LVMH, the empire behind Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Fendi, offered to buy 80% of Loro Piana. The deal was worth over 2 billion euros. It wasn't just a business acquisition. It was an acknowledgement. That quiet luxury had power. That whispering could reach further than shouting. But the family only agreed under one condition. The heart company would remain untouched. To this day, the factories still run in Italy. The fibers are still sourced with care. The standard remains exactly what Pietro demanded nearly a century ago. No shortcuts, no compromise, no noise. You'll rarely see a celebrity endorsement for Loro Piana. You won't find bold advertising campaigns. What you will find is the softest jacket you've ever touched. A baseball cap made of baby cashmere. A coat so light it moves like wind. This brand isn't for everyone. And that's the point. Because in a world obsessed with showing off, Loro Piana was built on holding back. In the quiet determination of a poor boy from Trivero who believed that making something perfect, truly perfect, was more valuable than anything else. He didn't leave behind a legacy of logos. He left behind a standard. And that standard became the most luxurious clothing brand in the world. Not because it said so, but because it didn't have to. So the next time you see a Loro Piana piece, remember, it's not just clothing. It's the result of a centuries-old obsession with quality, a commitment to tradition, and a relentless pursuit of the finest materials on earth.